Ask Coach Lyle show, where I try to help parents, coaches, and athletes by answering you guys' questions and giving you as much value as possible. I'm really excited today because my special guest is the baseball and softball motivator, CJ Beatty, and I'm really excited to have him on. CJ, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, how you doing, Matt? Thanks for having me on, man. I've been counting down the seconds to the time I get to do this show with you, man. So I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Hey, and if you don't know CJ, which I know most of you already do, he's got a huge following. But CJ and I met a few years ago at a conference, and he gave me a live performance of Mr. I Don't Bunt. And I'm telling you right now, it's still on my playlist. I'm still rocking that song all the time, singing along to it. So if you haven't seen it before, I know he's got a lot of other good songs, but my favorite song is Mr. I Don't Bunt. Look it up on YouTube. It's a fire song. It's really fun. So thanks for being on and helping us answer some questions. So as we get going here this morning, one of my favorite things about the show is seeing where everybody is located around the world. Last week we had people from New Zealand, Australia, every part of the country, Costa Rica. So as you're tuning into this show, if you're tuning in on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, wherever you're tuning in from on YouTube, let me know you're here. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Okay, and I want to give some shout outs to some people that are tuning in across the country. So no matter where you are, East Coast, West Coast, let us know you're here. Let us know you're tuning in. And I want to make sure to give you a good shout out on social media today. So get your questions lined up. I'm going to start rolling on these questions. So let me know that you're tuning in. Let me know you're here. I'm going to start pulling up some questions. So our first person, we'll give some shout outs here too. Natalie's tuning in from West Virginia. Natalie, thanks for tuning in today. We got another user in Wisconsin. Melissa's in Kansas. Again, I just appreciate so much the people across the country that take the time to tune in and ask some good questions. Matthew's in Arizona. Brenda's in New Jersey. Melissa's in Kansas. Spring Arbor, Michigan. Jesse's in Carson City, Nevada. Jesse, my parents are actually in Carson City, Nevada right now, so go look for them. Wow. My dad's a big 6'4" bald dude. Barry's in Georgia. Alex is in Virginia. Brad's in Columbia, South Carolina, Ohio, Oregon. I mean, it's awesome to see everybody tuning in, so thank you. Hey, I have CJ Beatty, the baseball softball motivator, on with me today. So if you're just tuning in, start getting your questions. We want to answer your questions about coaching, recruiting, anything that baseball, softball, or coaching that you're struggling with or you got a question about. You know, we've got a great expert here, a great motivator, and myself. So we want to help you guys out. So start thinking about what questions you want to ask us. And, you know, as we get tuned in a little bit, you know, CJ, with everything going on in the world right now and everything, tell us a little bit, give us a little 30-second, you know, what does February 2021 look like for you right now? What are you up to?
You know, it's just winning the day. You know, winning the day is really the mantra I'm living by right now. Getting everybody to understand that we can't control everything that goes on, especially with the pandemic and where COVID-19 has us as a country. But the one thing you can't control is setting goals. Like, nobody can stop you from setting goals. Nobody can stop you from winning the day. That's one of the things that I live by that's been to help me maintain my positivity. It's just, how can I win today? What did I not accomplish yesterday? Like, let's win and make sure we hit that today. So by doing that, you know, I know Will Smith talked about it a long time ago. He talked about in an interview setting a brick, one brick at a time. You know what I'm saying? And if you focus on laying that brick, you know, you're going to look back weeks from now, months from now, and you're going to have a brick wall, a solid foundation brick wall. And so I've just been really going after it like that in 2021.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome to hear. I've been following CJ and got to know him for a couple years ago. He's a great follow on Instagram, CJ Beatty 44. Make sure you follow him on there. His following keeps growing and growing because he's just doing great work. So, hey, take advantage of CJ being with me today. I know, you know, yesterday we got a ton of great questions. Last week got a ton of great questions. You guys always come up with the best questions. So, followers, get your questions in. You're tuning in live to the Ask Coach Lyle show, and my special guest today, CJ Beatty, the baseball softball motivator. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in. And Coach, the first question that I've got for you is, maybe you could tune in this a little bit. Hey, what do you tell a parent or a kid as high school tryouts are starting to happen, and they don't make the team, and they're feeling pretty bummed about it, and they got cut from the team. What advice do you have to kids, a high school kid, maybe a freshman, who gets cut from their team, and they want to go on from there?
Yeah, this is it's a tough thing to go through, but it's necessary. It's tough to go through, but necessary to grow through. You see how we play that? That's that word play right there. If you want to be great in life, you need to understand that failure is a part of the process. And as a parent, when you're talking to your kids about it, it's how we're going to respond to this. I don't like it when parents say, "Hey, don't cry about it. Don't do that." No, they're human. They the bounce back comes from how far down they were able to get. But you as the parent, you as the coach, is there to be able to quickly allow them to let it hit, that negative emotion hit just a little bit, and now let's talk about how we're going to develop a plan, how we're going to come back. I always encourage the parents to hype up the kid or encourage the kid to go to that coach and say, "Hey, what are some of the things that I missed on? Why I didn't make the team? Was it my defense, my hitting? What was it that I need to work on to be able to have a better shot next year or to improve overall as a player?" That's a great foundation on what to start, on where to start, so you can come back. When I got released from the St. Louis Cardinals, Matt, the biggest thing that I told myself, when my time was over in their organization, was they released a player that they'll never see again.
Mm.
And it wasn't anything negative towards the Cardinals. It was just that I wanted to come back, right? I wanted to come back a player that they've never seen before, bigger, stronger, faster, sharper between the ears. So I allowed something that everybody deemed negative to be an actual positive thing in my life, because that made me get on this track to prove everybody wrong and to be a better person overall.
I love that. That's great advice. And again, if you're just tuning in, this is the Ask Coach Lyle show. My special guest, CJ Beatty. Do us a favor. Hit that like button, hit that share button, and let us know where you're tuning in from. Again, I see all you guys, Long Island, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Virginia. It's awesome to see you guys tune in. Let me know you're here. Hit that like button, hit that share button, get the word out that we got CJ on here, and we're live right now answering you guys' questions. Here's a good one. I like this question because a lot of parents asking about recruiting. This parent asks, it says, well, what does it mean when an eighth grader is committed to a school? To my understanding, you can't sign an actual scholarship till the fall of your senior year. Back in the day, the summer after your junior year was a huge recruiting period. Does this not exist anymore due to social media? So I'll tell you right now, there are kids out there. I've come across them that in junior high, they're LeBron James-esque, and they are committing to schools. I can tell you right now, in softball, for example, you can't even talk about scholarship until fall of your junior year. So when you hear about that, and there's been some rule changes, but if you hear about that, one, there's probably some backdoor stuff going on, but two, those are a lot of times those are just stories, and you're talking about 1% of 1% of the kids out there. So a lot of times I hear parents say, "Oh, I heard about this kid being committed," and they start worrying about, are they behind schedule? Okay, I'm telling you right now, do not compare yourself to other kids. Do not get caught up in that committed thing. Okay, I'll tell you right now, most of the kids I've coached at D1 level, they've even said, "I'm a late bloomer. I was a late bloomer." Okay, I'll tell you what, even if you end up going to a JUCO, your journey is nowhere near being done. So if you're a parent of an eighth grader or a freshman, relax. Don't believe all the hypes and the stories. Coach, what do you think? What do you think? What advice do you give the parents when they hear something like a kid out there that's an eighth grader and they committed? What should they be thinking about when they hear those stories?
I mean, the first thing, I'm gonna just be real. I would say fake news,
Yeah.
because a lot of the things, I would say, if I had to throw a number off the top of my head, I would say 80% of the people that say, I would even say 90%. 90% of the kids that say that they're committed, like in the eighth grade or in the ninth grade, all of that is what we call a verbal. It's a verbal. It's, you went to a camp, you loved it, they said that they loved you and would love to have you here, so you go out and get a graphic and says, "Hey man, I've verbally committed to such and such school." Thank you for everything. And that starts the process with everybody like, oh man, congratulations. And a lot of parents start to see the comments flutter with congratulations. We knew you would make it. Oh my God, you did it at such an early age. But technically, you're not signing no scholarship as an eighth grader. It's just a strong verbal. It's where you've made up in your mind. Maybe your dad went to that school, your mom went to that school. You see that all of your other peers and people you would like to aspire to be like went to that school, and the school has showed some interest in you coming, and you just go the whole nine and say that I am committing. I'm announcing my commitment, and there's nothing, no pen and paper has been involved. It's just a strong verbal.
Absolutely true. All right, and we got a lot of people pouring in. Tony's tuning in from Missouri, Melissa in Georgia, Brandon's in Greenville, North Carolina, not too far from CJ. We got Brian's in Maryland, Rodney's in Tracy, Chris is in Orlando. It's just awesome to see all you guys here. And CJ, I got one of my favorite questions I've gotten on the show in the last year, and I'll let you start off because here's a question from Beth. It says, "Can you tell us about your sports mom? What was your relationship, and how did it affect you as a person and a player?"
Wow. Well, that is a unique question.
I like it.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, right on, Beth. I'll tell you. I'll be happy to tell you about my mother. I'm a mama's boy, so this comes easy. My mom was very big on the little things. She was very big on being punctual, showing up to the ballpark looking like you mean business, making sure that your shirt tail was tucked in all the time. Did I like it as a player? No, I didn't. But it was very meaningful. And I'm so thankful that she did so, because she was saying somebody's out here evaluating you, and you need to make sure that you look the part. Look professional. Wear your uniform the correct way. Turn your hat from turning it to the side. Bring that bill straight. There's a lot of things that my mother was big on. She was always the care package mother, so my cooler was always stacked with Gatorades. It was in those embarrassing times when I'm in college. She's like sliding beside the dugout. Hey, here, I'm like, Ma, come on. But I truly, truly love each and every moment that I can look back in my pro career and my playing career and say that my mom played a big, big part in who I am, off the field and on the field.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'll tell you, my mom knew the game really, really well. She was the scorekeeper. Her brother played for the Chicago White Sox, and she grew up, she was the scorekeeper in the dugout in high school when she wasn't being a cheerleader. So she knew the game really well, but she never really coached me or talked to me about stuff. But I'll tell you what, when I was 12 years old, I got hit by a pitch, and I started walking out to the mound, and I pointed at the pitcher like a dumb 12-year-old that I was. And I'll never forget, I got to first base and I got back to the dugout, and my mom was waiting over there, and she's like, "If you ever do that again, I will walk out there and pull you off the field." And like I said, my mom hardly ever talked about games, stuff like that, but she was like, "You are not going to act that way on that field." And so I'll never forget that. And it's funny, my mom, I got to give a shout out to my mom. Tomorrow she is running a 100-mile race in Arizona. My mom's in her 60s. She still gets after it. She's an athlete, and tomorrow she's driving to Arizona to do a 100-mile race. So props to you, Mom. Moms are awesome, and all the moms out there supporting their kids. That's really awesome too.
That's great.
All right, and I know this is right up your alley too, CJ. Here's the next question from Candace. She says, "How do you help with confidence at the plate? My 15-year-old daughter is really struggling with that. She used to be such a great hitter, but is really having a hard time lately." Confident.
A lot of times, confidence comes from, first of all, there's two. I'll start by saying this: if you don't practice enough, you don't deserve to have confidence. You have to practice enough. Like if you just practice once or twice a week, and then here comes game day on the weekends, and you have a 30-minute lesson on Monday, a team practice where you get minimum reps on Thursday. Saturday, you have a tournament on the weekend, and you're like, where's the confidence? Where your body doesn't feel prepared. Anytime that you feel less prepared, it's hard to call on your confidence, right? Michael Jordan said in the interview that he was doing, he was confident because he was over prepared. So all he had to do was just call on the confidence. When he stepped in the box, it was like, let's do this, And I took it another step, Matt, when I go out and speak to these organizations about confidence, because that's like a number one question. How do I gain confidence? Is first of all, you need to prep yourself all during the week. It's a lifestyle change. Like all during the week, starting on Monday, if you got a tournament coming up, if you're prepared, you need to learn how to say affirmations. I am, I will, it's done. Being able to have things on your bathroom mirror that pumps you up all throughout the week, going over your approaches, going over your routines, building yourself up, the psychology of it, being able to say that I can and I will do it this weekend. By the time the weekend comes, you're so pumped up and ready and prepared that's when the confidence sticks. Yeah. But so many people do not practice confidence prior to the games, and they feel that it's a light switch. That, oh man, I got a game today. Let me turn on the confidence light switch. No, it doesn't work that way. It's something that has to become your lifestyle, and then that's how you can call on it when you need it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And I'll tell you, I think parents, whenever I hear the question about confidence about your kids, I want you to take some self-inventory. What is the actual root of this issue? And I can tell you, I know some kids who are perfectionists, and it's about them and stuff in their head. But I also know a large portion of kids, even college players and some minor league pro guys, who it's their parents that are putting so much pressure on them and talking to them and having these high expectations of them that they're having confidence issues because of that. They know, I can tell you right now, I come across some kids out there who will tell me that their parents' love in their minds is predicated on their performance. And when they perform really well, they know mom and dad gives them love. And when they don't, they get a lecture in the car on the way home. So if those things are in their head when they're playing, that's going to affect their confidence. So take some little inventory to see, is that something that you're causing a little bit of? Is it something that, and it's trying to find out what the root of it is, I think is really good. The next question is, our team is reading a book called Chasing Excellence. It's been a great resource for mental toughness. Do you have any other recommendations to keep feeding the kiddos? I'll tell you, I'll start with that one. For me, if you don't follow Eric Thomas, ET, on Instagram and stuff like that, I mean, that guy gets me pumped up, and I love his message across the board. That's a big one for me. CJ Beatty is another one you got to follow for motivation, mental toughness, and some of that stuff. CJ, for you, what are some of the resources for you when it comes to mental toughness and from a team setting? What are some things that resources that you recommend?
I think the number one resource when used appropriately and correctly is YouTube. I mean, because that's where you're gonna stumble across the Eric Thomases, the CJ Beatty's, the Matt Lyles, the Inky Johnsons. You're going to stumble across other motivational speakers, and I want people to understand that you don't necessarily have to find a motivational speaker, right, that is geared to your specific sport. Motivation is universal. Yep. The grind is a universal language. Dealing with failure is a universal thing. So getting on YouTube, typing in simply motivational speeches, right? If you want it to be more specific, motivational speeches, baseball, motivational speeches, softball, whatever it may be, go down that rabbit hole of positivity, and you'll start to find things that really relate to you and what you're going through. Yeah. So I would say YouTube is a valuable resource.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great answer. All right, guys, so we've got about 11 minutes left here on the Ask Coach Lyle show. If you're just tuning in, my special guest is the Baseball and Softball Motivator, CJ Beatty. Pumped to have him on, and we've been answering you guys' questions. So here's the deal. We got about 10 minutes left, so get those questions in. If you want your questions answered today, get those questions in. And also, again, hit the like button, hit the share button, and let me know where you're tuning in from. We got people from all over the country today, but I haven't seen any international people. So if you're tuning in from New Zealand, Australia, South America, let me know you're here. We want to see some. We want to hear about those guys. So, all right, the next question comes from Tony. What age does a parent be looking to get a child into a select or travel team? And I'll tell you, Tony, that's probably a 30-minute answer in itself. But I'll just tell you, for For me, with my kids, the biggest thing is it depends on them. If you've got a kid, I have a 9-year-old son. He's kind of interested in different sports. He's still trying to feel it out. He's probably not ready for travel ball, but I can tell you at 9 years old, my family couldn't afford it. But if it was, I was playing baseball out on the street by myself for 3 hours a day at 9 years old because I just love the game. So for me, part of that has to do with the kid-driven. And I tell you, in my experience in the last at least 10, 15 years, whenever it comes to travel ball and all the lessons and all the stuff, it's usually parent-driven. And so you got to have kids who actually enjoy doing it. Kids you don't force to get off the iPad and go practice in the backyard. So for me, part of that, I said that's kind of a long story. Coach, anything you would recommend? What's a good age to start thinking about travel ball and select ball and that type of stuff?
I think the first step is what you said. The first step is for the parents to identify the drive into their kid. Once you've identified, boom, that the drive is there, the next step, if you don't have those type, because I don't always recommend, because you need a set of unbiased eyes. You don't want to be able to say to my kid's ready. Well, how about you go get another qualified set of eyeballs to say that? Because it's important. If your kid is not ready for that showcase style, that rigorous schedule of playing every weekend or playing with, tougher competition, it might still be about development. It might still, they might need more reps in developmental baseball. And that's where your rec ball, your little league, your Ripken or whatever they may call it these days, you might need to be able to seek that a little bit longer just so they can develop. Because when you get them and put the cart before the horse and put them on the showcase side where they're being identified or the pressures are there and the expectations are much higher, then you could possibly lose a kid that way. Mm-hmm. So it would be good to be able to get a second set of eyeballs, qualified eyeballs, to say, are they ready? And if they say, hey, they might not be, don't take it to heart. There's a lot of people that they didn't blossom until their junior year in high school, and now they're millionaires in the major league. Absolutely. Right? So don't always compare and contrast like, oh shoot, well, I guess this is not his sport. No, he just might need a little bit, or she might need a little bit more developmental.
That's awesome. I want to give a couple of shout outs here. I got our first person, Elaine, is tuning in from Canada. She's in Quebec. We got Tommy in Colorado. I can't see who this person's name is, but they said, I just logged in and my daughter loved using walk-up music as her walk-up song. So I like that. And I'll tell you guys, if you haven't checked out CJ's music and songs, you got to do it. I think Spotify, YouTube. Yes. I said I love watching the videos. No joke. I've shown some of those videos to coaches all over the place, coaching staffs I've been on. I love it. So make sure you do that. And again, this person says, anyway, CJ could give Maddie a shout out and ask her to get her butt back on the softball field. So I don't know who you are, Maddie. Maybe CJ does, but you got to. He says you got to get your butt out back on the softball field. So
you got to get out there, Maddie. Let's go. Come on. I want to see you out there. Let's get it.
I love it. Jamie says, hey, Coach, I wasn't the best car ride home coach or dad. I'd start with positives, but then I always slipped into asking negatives from the game day, which my son and wife didn't like. How can we all be better car ride home parents? What do kids want to hear on that ride home, or what do we say or not say as parents on that ride home? I'll let you kick this one off a little bit. How do we make that car ride home after a game as a parent? How do we make that a better car ride home and not make it a negative experience and harp on all the criticism and coaching that we want to do in that 15-minute ride home?
I think by now, parents need to understand the first thing that you identify is how you communicate with your children. Mm-hmm. Like how do you communicate with them? How do they work well? Do they respond right then and there on the spot with constructive criticism, or do they need some time? I learned that when I was in pro ball. Mike Schilt, the current manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, was my rookie ball coach, and he always did the constructive criticism. He never did it after the games, whether we won, whether we lost, whether we needed to get our butts chewed out. He waited for the next day, because he allowed himself and the emotions to separate so we can get more quality out of it. You know what I'm saying? So I know it just depends on your player. Sometimes your player needs to be told right then and there for certain things. And then there might be some things where you just say nothing. You just say, hey, y'all played hard. and then address it tomorrow at breakfast. Address it tomorrow when it's more of a time to address it. Because sometimes when you're emotional, you might not say the right things. You might mean well, but you might not say the right thing, and that can start a rift between communication between you and your player.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, CJ knows this in relationships. I know, being married now, like I get told all the time that my tone matters, and when I talk, how my tone is. And when you get emotional, your tone sometimes doesn't come off well. So I've learned that lesson too. Here's what I would tell parents: when the kid gets in the car, if you feel like maybe they had a bad game or a bad experience, I always try to start off with, "Hey, buddy, I love to watch you play. I'm glad that I got to watch you play today," and I start with that, and I kind of give it a little read. And like for me as a kid, my dad coached me, and I was super critical. So me and my dad talked it out, and I enjoyed talking it out. But I know some of my kids don't, and a lot of kids out there don't like that. So I kind of start there. Hey, buddy. Just so you know, I love you no matter how you play, and I love watching you play. I try to somewhere in that range, and then kind of see if the kid wants to talk about it. Oh, hey, Dad, this happened and that happened, and then we can kind of have the conversation. But I'm going to try to hold off any feedback or criticism. I think a lot of parents talk about the 24-hour rule. CJ's talking about the next day. Maybe the next day after when everything's calmed down, there's no emotions. You say, hey, bud, I noticed yesterday in that game, this was going on. Do you want to talk about it? And and trying to go that way. I just think for a lot of kids, they just know when they get in the car and they had a bad day, it's like, oh wait, here goes Dad or here goes Mom. It's going to happen, and it kind of shut down, and emotions are high, and it's just not very productive. And I think that you got to figure out for your kid, what's your kid like? Because I know there's a lot of kids out there, they love it. They love getting in the car and talking it out and doing that. I know for me that was too. So we're going to get to a couple more questions here, Coach. This is a good one. I like this. Don't get this one too often. Ryan asks, how do you keep ego from getting in the way of confidence and talent on travel high school teams? So how do you keep some of your athletes in check that they've got a little bit of ego? And we talked about a little bit. Sometimes on travel ball teams, you do have that kid who committed early, big time school, and they're on that travel ball team. They know it. They got a little bit of ego, and they carry it around to the team. It affects the team. How do you keep that ego from getting in the way of confidence and talent and stuff like that? What do you think about that?
Man, I really think that it's something, having a little chip on your shoulder as a player really helps elevate your abilities in game, and it helps bring out your confidence. But I think it's coming down to the parents and the coaches to be able to direct that in a more positive way that's more team driven. You know what I'm saying? It's like taking those players and individually sitting down with them and saying, hey, we understand you're good. We all know that. I'm glad you're on the team. However, I need more out of you from a leadership standpoint. I need you to be a leader and not a me guy. And sometimes a me guy or a me person doesn't come off the right way. You can have your stats and everybody loves you, but I want you to know when scouts ask about it, they want to know, are you team centered or are you me centered? So and then I go into it for me personally, Matt. When I talk to the players, I let them know the best statistical year I ever had was when I focused on being the best teammate I could be. If you're a stats person and you want your stats to go up and up and up, I let them know that I went that way, but it didn't end well. My emotions were up and down when I chased the stats and everything like that. But the moment that I put the team first and I said, I want to be a great leader, I want to bring my teammate Smith with me when I go and work out. I want to be able to make sure the younger guys are doing well. I want to make sure the last guy on the lineup, the last person in the lineup gets their attention as well. When I started to do that, it created this environment on our team that allowed us to be great. And I noticed without even trying that my stats was going up.
I love that.
That's right there was huge.
And it's just kind of that thing. When you start putting the team first, you find out that some success comes your way too. That's what I love. I love that. All right, we're going to get to our last question of the day right here. It's a good one. It says, as a coach, I really try to draw the line between having fun and goofing off. We are a second-year 12U team, and we are working our way through learning the difference. Any suggestions are appreciated on the coaching side. Lord help me. Hey, I'll tell you right now, I've coached D1 for a lot of years, Pac-12, SEC, and I think from the outside looking in, you would give Coach Lyle a lot of criticism that I goof around too much, I joke around too much, I play a lot of music, we do a lot of dancing in the cages. So here's the deal. I totally understand that you've got to have this element of fun, but also understanding that, hey, we're here to work and to get better, and trying to find that balance. 12 years old is really hard to do. And so you got to try to find some elements of fun, some elements of work. And in my experience, when you create competition, competitive type games and drills that kids love to compete and have fun in, you also are working hard and getting after it too. So trying to find kind of that element, trying to find out when you can be loose and when you have fun as you get to know the players a little bit. And I'll tell you, for however long you coach, that's going to be a struggle. Coach, any advice to coaches out there who they want to be a fun coach, but they also don't want goofing around at practice all the time? Any advice you got for those coaches out there?
You know what? I really feel like it's huge to set the tone early. Even if to set the tone early, even if you've coached them for several years, when that new season starts, and it's great that we're in a time right now at the beginning of 2021, set that tone. Yeah. You have the moment right then and there to set the tone for how you guys are going to carry out this season. Say, hey guys, we used to do this back in the day. We used to do this last year, but we want to be bigger and better this year. So therefore, there's going to be some positive changes. This is what we're going to do. And I think and strongly agree, because Coach Lyle just beat me to it. The competitions is how you, as they say, kill two birds with one stone. Yep. That's how you do it. You're going to maintain fun. You're going to create competitions that's going to allow not only your best players to succeed, but also your less talented players to contribute and compete as well. So that's strategic. And then also you're learning, because they're learning how to compete, right? And pull for each other. Camaraderie will be in those. So you're hitting a lot of things with adding more competitions into your practice.
That's awesome. That's good advice. All right, so if you're just tuning in, you just caught the last question of the day for the Ask Coach Lyle show with my special guest, CJ Beatty. We got to a lot of great questions. There's a lot of great comments in there. I know, CJ, a lot of people on there commenting that, great advice. Thanks, CJ. You're the best. Lots of great comments and appreciation for you being on and answering. I really appreciate it. CJ, tell us a little bit. I mean, I'm always going to pump you up. Make sure you check him out on YouTube and Instagram. But tell us a little bit as we finish and walk away here today. Tell us, where's the best place to find you, or what projects are you working on? Where should we, if we're going to go check out CJ after this show, where should we go? What are we looking at?
Yeah, man, you go to cjbeatty.com for the ones that are might not be so familiar with who I am. Go to cjbeatty.com. It talks to me about as a speaker, a hip hop artist, positive hip hop artist that has baseball music. I'm actually working on Softball Feel Good Music Volume 1. Just shouts out to that. It'll be out this spring. I just dropped a book, Big League Dreams, Little League Minds.
Nice.
The 18 elements of mental toughness. That's out. And, they can follow me on Instagram at CJBeatty44, on Twitter, same thing, at CJBeatty44, Facebook as well. I dedicate my life to being able to helping players on and off the field, helping coaches communicate better, helping parents communicate better, the recruiting process. So everything under the sun. That's why I call it the Baseball Motivator brand, and that's why I call it the Softball Motivator brand, because it's a brand dedicated to help you, be a better person in life.
Awesome, man. Thank you, CJ. Go check CJ out, Instagram, his website. Go check out his new book. Love this guy. And we're going to bring him back on the show another time. CJ, thanks for being with us. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's Tuesday, Groundhog Day. Have a great week, everybody.